But here's sort of where I'm at now, Rye. I am not going to engage with someone or argue with them or disagree with them unless eternity is at stake. Ultimately, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you sleep with. I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm not going to run the moral, decisions in your life. I'm not going to sit and fight with a stranger over stuff like that. But if you write something and that thing that you believe is a lie and it is a deception and it is going to lead to you losing your soul, I don't care if it starts an argument or if you hate me or if you call me names. The fact is, I am obligated as a fellow human being to do the loving thing, which is to warn you, be very careful. This is a lie and it's a deadly one.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Codega's Codex of Curiosities. Tonight, I have a good friend returning back, Vicky Joy Anderson, and I think this is her third or fourth time coming back on the show, and, never enough. Vicky is a great friend of mine, and this conversation was really enlightening. We talked about deceit, being deceived, being strong in our faith as well, within this deceit. And we talked about demonic evil forces that don't come off as demonic or evil at all. And I think that's the point about it, is that they're not all like, we're going to scare you. We got blood dripping from us. We got fangs. We have, horns and a pitchfork and a, pointed tail or anything like that. It's kind of this way of coming out to you to be, you're special. You are different. You are special. You are needed. And us as humans, we sometimes feel that we need that and we fall for it. It's kind of the same concept as a guy pulling up in a white panel van, handing out candy to you and trying to entice you. Keep giving you candy, keep giving you candy, keep giving you candy. It comes by every day. And the next thing you know, you're back in the van and there's nothing you can do about it. You've been bamboozled. You've been taken. So this conversation starts like that. We discuss many different things. We talk about life, the difficulties of life, but sticking true and being oneself, being strong in our faith as well. And I hope you guys thoroughly enjoy this episode. I always enjoy my conversations with Vicky. And if you guys are interested in hearing another guest, please leave like a message or an email, send me an email, anything like that. If you have any guest suggestions, I'm open to that. And until then, let's just jump right into this interview. So, Vicky, how's everything going? What's new and exciting? I know we haven't we text, but we just haven't really talked or anything.
Yeah, it's been going good. October 1st has sort of been this like big red X on my calendar almost the entire year, because that was going to be the end of all of my book deadlines and my travel and my conferences. And so it is all behind me now. I've just got a few podcasts left, but I have 2 books submitted to the publisher. One of them for sure is going to come out in June of 2026. Not sure about the other one. Hopefully next year, though. So we'll have plenty more content next year. I don't usually get too far into unpublished stuff, but people can expect a sequel to They Only Come Out at Night that is going to get a deep, deep graphic dive into the spirit spouse, lifelong succubus, incubus attachments. This is the aspect of sleep paralysis that historically nobody really wants to talk about, and that the church tends to think is irreverent and hysterical. And
the church really doesn't like to touch on any of this. It's kind of like they just
no.
No, they hang out like there are. Don't get me wrong. There are some ministers or ministries that do go into this, but a lot of them are just like let's just stick to the Bible. We're not going to deal with any relevant demonic issues now.
Yeah. I have a prediction.
I want to hear your
Uh,
prediction.
as we continue to barrel down the tracks at the rate of disclosure that we're on now, not only with people online sharing their paranormal experiences, but also with AI and all of the assumptions that people have that tech may go sentient, or I'm not even concerned with sentient tech, Rye. Let's talk sapient tech, because I think that's where we're headed. And I can give you a difference there in a minute. If we have more and more paranormal activity going on, more and more people opening up these spiritual doors, a lot of these new age techniques that seem harmless, or they're being branded under the categories of health and fitness and wellness. If you are opening yourself up willingly to being a channel for cosmic forces like prana and chi, you are actually, that's the vampiric invitation. You're saying that's a CE5, and so let me define some terms so we don't lose everybody. We all know close encounters of the first, second, third, and fourth kind, right? We all saw the Spielberg movie.
Yeah,
So a CE5 is now where people are willingly going out to Area 51, Roswell, graveyards, in the woods,
their
and they
backyard
are
even. Yeah,
their backyard, and they are actually, many of them are even practicing rituals. Like if you go online, they actually take you through steps that you go through. You don't just go out and speak to the wind. And so these are invitations, and so you're giving legal invitation and permission for these cosmic forces to interact with you, or to attach to you, or to be channeled through you. So that's a CE5. It's a close encounter of the fifth kind. CE1 through 4
you're literally.
is,
I literally have the CE5 app on my phone that I've never. I paid for it, and I've never actually. Something in me is like, I just haven't brought myself to use it. And I'm, more
yeah,
and more I hear about this, I'm like, I'm glad I never actually participated in that, because a lot of times it's
yeah,
well intentioned. I will say this, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, because, you don't think it is what it really is. You think it's like, oh, this is going to be really cool. This is going to be interesting. And then wham, it's something else completely different.
yes. These cosmic beings, these entities, these angels, whatever in worldview you have and whatever you want to call them. I'm not hung up on that. It doesn't matter to me. But here's the deal. They're highly intelligent, and we're basically like, it's the equivalent of taking candy from a baby, right? There's really simple ways we can manipulate and trick kids into doing things that they don't want to do. Like they don't want to go to bed, but if you offer them a Tootsie Roll, all of a sudden they're in bed. You know what I mean? Like these entities are very intelligent. They know that, hey, if 100% of the time, every single time a human being did X, it resulted in paranormal activity, sleep paralysis, night terrors, illness. We're clever enough as human beings to realize, hey, every single time we do X, it opens up a spiritual door and we're attacked. We would stop doing it. The word would get around and we would stop doing it. So the reason why things are up in the air and we have such a division in opinion over some of these practices. Like you'll see the New Age and the Christians arguing all the time over Reiki and yoga. And you've got people on this side of the spectrum saying it's harmless. Then you've got the people way over here who's saying it's evil, don't ever do it. And then you've got the people in the middle like, well, I can do the stretches and listen to Christian music. You're all over the map. And the reason why we're all over the map with that stuff is because these entities are highly intelligent, and they know if we attack or attach to every single person who does a CE5 ritual, every single person who does Reiki, every single person who does yoga, every single person who plays with the Ouija board, every single person who does X, then we're going to stop doing it. So it's random. And depending upon how susceptible you are, depending upon how many gifts you have that are useful to them, they're going to attach to some people and not to others. And they're going to attach to some in a malevolent way, and they're not in other. So for some people, you're going to get the spirit guide and you're going to have the giftings and you're going to have the ability to predict the future and make a lot of money, prophesying. For other people, if you're useless to them, you're going to get the nightmares and the demons and the red glowing eyes and all of that. So this is where it gets very, very gray area, is when we have these things, because it doesn't have the same, we don't all have the same experience. And so because of that, we're going into a lot of this information, a lot of the arguments we have about this stuff, Rye, or the debates that we have, we're all basing our information through the lenses of our own emotions and experiences. So
100%.
for some people, they're like, I like sleep paralysis because even though it's a little spooky, then I get to lucid dream. And when I get up in the astral, I get to have sex and it's awesome. And then you got other people saying, hey man, I don't care what you have to offer me up there. I didn't consent to this. Leave me alone. And because my wishes are not being heeded, you are breaking a covenant there. I don't want to be harassed. I just want a good night's sleep. I don't want I don't care how many gifts you have to offer me. I don't want them. Leave me alone. And that's where, those are the people that I talk to, Rye. Those are the people that contact me, are the people that I don't want this. I don't want to be harassed. I want to get a good night's sleep. I don't want a lucid dream. I don't want all these gifts. And that's really where we have an issue, is there are legalities that the spirit realm has to follow. And in many cases, you've got people who are saying, I do not consent to this. And they're doing everything in their power to undo these agreements and covenants and be left alone. And they can't. And a lot of times they can't. This is another area where I really have contention with the church, even though they're well-meaning. It's ignorance. But the problem is, not everybody who says, Jesus help me, never has sleep paralysis ever again. And this is the comment I get the most on my social media. It's Christians saying, just call on the name of Jesus and it'll never come back. Well, if you call on the name of Jesus, you got a pretty good chance that you might wake up or come out of the experience. But what people don't understand, especially in the church, is every single person online from every country in the world, every age, every gender, not every single person was born and raised in a Baptist church who spent all week going to Sunday school and learning Bible verses. And you have to understand that some of these people that are experiencing sleep paralysis, even the ones that cry out to Jesus and get rescued, it's not just a matter of saying a magic word and abracadabra and it goes away. We're talking about people who have come from generational bloodlines, whether it's a cult, coven related, or it is high ranking military officials, royal bloodlines, Hebraic bloodlines, where hundreds of years ago, perhaps generations beyond what they could ever remember, were doing rituals and making covenants with these beings and pledging their entire bloodline over to them. And so you can get out of those covenants, but it's a little more difficult than just saying, Jesus help me, and it never comes back. And so, this is something that I wish that pastors and Christians would realize, because here's the backlash that I get, Rye. This is what I have to deal with when people who aren't churched go to a Christian and get told, oh, this is because you're a sinner. Oh, you looked at a Playboy, you listened to Metallica, oh, you bad person, this is the backlash that I have, that I have to deal with. Is I'm dealing with people who are harassed by this stuff nightly. Most of them are also coming out of severe childhood trauma and likely in many cases some sort of abuse. And you're telling them, this is your fault. You did a bunch of bad stuff. You're a bad person. Everybody else calls on Jesus and it goes away and never comes back. So the message that these people are getting is Jesus doesn't exist. Jesus doesn't love me. Jesus isn't willing to forgive me because I looked at porn once. And these narrow-minded little ideas, like if we don't understand what's going on in the invisible realm, the wars that are being fought, the battles, the thrones that are being fought over, if we don't understand that we're sort of cannon fodder in a much larger, invisible, cosmic war, we're going to keep throwing around these stupid things like, if you listen to heavy metal music or, when you were a kid, you played with a Ouija board once, you somehow deserve to be tormented by demons the rest of your life. Or if these demons attack you, it means you're not really a Christian, because we get that a lot too. Ephesians 6:12, I talk about this a lot on my podcast. Ephesians 6:12 is kind of like the penultimate spiritual warfare verse in all of Scripture. It says our battle is not against flesh and blood, meaning we sit here on the horizontal and we fight with each other. And they, capital T, they're constantly pitting groups against one another. And every day they're creating new groups of people to hate each other. So, you got male and female, black and white, gay, straight, Christian, atheist. Now everybody's got to fight with each other depending on what generation they're from. And Gen
Right?
X is better than Gen
Yeah,
Z
Gen
and all
X,
this
Gen
nonsense.
Z, and it's. I agree with you. This has gotten out of control, and people still fall for this. It's right versus left, woke versus awake, and it's I've slowly been trying to step further and further back from it, and you can just see this destruction, this division,
Yeah.
and like in the U.S. politics is absolutely horrendous right now, and it is just crazy. And then so they got the split of the left and the right, and then you have within the left, you have this, and within the right you have this, and it's once you step back from it, and you wash the labels because it's labeling is what's happening, and you kind of wash those away, you start to see more and more clearly, and it actually bothers me. I'm like, can't you see like like it's happening, like don't fall for it is what it is they're falling for this manipulation, this game that's going on.
Absolutely. So let's travel a little bit into the realms of Robert Monroe. And so I'm sure many of your viewers are already familiar with him, but Robert Monroe, he has now passed away, but he is was dubbed the father of modern astral projection. So he didn't discover astral projection, of course, because it's been around for thousands of years, but he sort of rediscovered it back in the 60s. And he developed hemisync technology, which is brain entrainment, which that can be, I think the more modern term now is the binaural beats, but it's brain entrainment. It is certain frequencies that create a third tone in your brain, not audible. And it syncs the frequencies of your right and left brain hemisphere and puts you in an altered state of consciousness. So similar to what we were just talking about, Rye, with the Reiki and the yoga and the CE5, every single person who falls asleep listening to binaural beats isn't going to open their third eye or astral project, but the potential is there because it's using frequency to put you into an altered state, which is that's when we're most vulnerable to these visitations. And so, Robert Monroe in his Far Journeys trilogy, he's the one that coined the term loosh, right? And this is the idea that entities or some sort of cosmic beings are harvesting human energy, and it's fueling them. And so they're not consuming us. It's not like a Soylent Green sort of thing where they're eating us. They're more vampiric in nature, like they are
They're
sucking
putting
all
us
of
into
the.
a state of fear, and we create
Yes.
the fear, and
Yep.
the low vibrational type of energy that they're feeding off of.
Amen.
And
Yes.
I have to say, I really despise the word loosh. Something about it for me, I was like, it feels
It's like
like I'm in
moist.
like the 80s or the 90s, and like we're going
Yeah,
snowboarding or skating, and it's like that's some really cool loosh, man. Like I don't know,
dude.
yeah,
Exactly. Oh man. So what's fascinating to me about this is the collective human energy can come through our emotions, right? It
yes,
doesn't just have to be fear. Like a lot of people think it's just fear. A lot of people reduce sleep paralysis down to fear. It's any extremely strong negative human emotion. So if you have anger or rage, if you have massive amounts of bitterness or paranoia, it can be lust. And so when you look at, okay, I'm going to go there. I don't want to go there, but I'm going to go there, Rye.
let's go there.
Let's use it as an example. Charlie Kirk.
Okay, yeah,
Okay. I don't know.
yeah.
Smells like a big, huge psyop to me. I wasn't around during the JFK stuff, but this is ridiculous.
This is
So,
ridiculous.
Rye,
Yeah,
yeah. So 2 or 3 days after it occurred, I was getting sucked in, right? As soon as they revealed who the shooter was, I was like, oh, and the bubble popped. And I'm like, oh. And so I made a little vow to myself on day 3. I'm not giving 1 ounce of my energy to this. I'm not reading anything, watching anything. I'm not going to give them my grief because I believe it. And I'm not going to give them my anger because it's crap. Because either way, they suck you in. If you believe the whole
exactly.
narrative,
And Vicky, it was ridiculous that they showed this. Okay, you can't do anything on any social media, anything graphic, and it's completely blocked out. But for days, you could watch the assassination with everything, and I saw it, and it messed me up for the day. And why, like it never. And I was listening to, I don't know if you know who Sean Hibbler was. He was on my friend Brad Lael, the Awaken podcast show, and they were talking about this. For he's like, in all my life, I've never seen anything like this, and especially now with all the censorship and whatnot. But here we go, for you can watch this no problems, which is really fishy, really fishy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I know I'm getting off track, but I agree with you. It's like this energy. It's kind of like,
yeah,
uh, and I will say that I have been one person who I really respect, but she does go deep into all this is Candace Owens, and
mm,
I'm watching her show because she doesn't believe any of it, and she's like, this is all a pile of stinking crap. But I do agree, though, it takes a lot out of you. It takes, because it's all this really negative thing, emotions.
yeah. Look at the course of the last 25 years. When you look at 9/11, when you look at the whole Bush Gore hanging Chad, you know, nonsense, they are experts at stirring up the global cauldron of emotion.
Yeah.
And they're so good at it that no matter what side you take, you are stirred up.
Yes.
Whether you believe the narrative and you're mourning and grieving and crying and giving money, or you think the whole thing's crap and you're mad and you're angry and you're on there typing stuff online, it they
It is.
are
You're correct. It's these two emotions, but they're negative emotions. And
Yeah.
and Vicky, have you heard of Jerry Marzinski?
I don't think I have. No.
Okay, he's a psychotherapist, and he's been studying schizophrenia for over 35 years, and
Oh,
he talks about this in essence too. He talks about these entities, these demonic entities, kind of like, because he's studied what the voices are. And he says there's a pattern with them as well. And it's all negative. It's all these negativity. And he says, like, it can't be an auditory hallucination because around the world, everybody has, like, they all follow this pattern. I think he said it's a 12 pattern that they follow. But again, here we go. It's all this. And he talks about Lucia as well, which is, he's kind of like on the fringe because no one wants to believe him because he talks about things that they just want to throw pills at you and just numb you and zombify you, but he's like, no, that's not how you heal people. There's a method to do this. But sorry to get sidetracked, though. We're talking about Lush and all this, but I agree. Like, it's crazy, like these it's one that you're mad because you can't see the truth, and these people are sad because it's a devastating thing. Those are still those, they're different, but they're still on the same side of that scale, right?
yes, yes. And if you want to draw it to its final conclusion, because there's got to be people out there listening to this going, well, who cares? Who cares if why do they need the whole world worked up into a frenzy? Are they just narcissists or whatever? No, here is
The
the
end.
alchemy behind it. And this is where there's going to be tons of cognitive dissonance. This is where the church starts hitting stop and saying Vicky's a witch in the comments and whatever. But here's the deal, whether you want to believe it or not, that collective negative energy this is a ritual. They collect that energy and it opens portals, or it thins the veil, whatever phrase you're comfortable with. And actual entities are coming through the veil, coming through the portals. And as we see our culture and our society and our moral fabric of society continue to spiral downward, it is because these events and these psyops and these false flags and whatever, they are energy collection programs, and they need these things. This is our 21st century Tower of Babel, you guys. This is the wormhole. This is the portal. This is the harvesting of human energy is what gives them access to higher and higher level beings that are able to help them in their agendas and their takeover of bringing back their golden age, right? And this is where it gets really fringy and weird, and this is where most people tap out, right? But for those who are willing to consider it, ignorance is bliss. You bury your head in the sand and you don't have to hear it. You don't have to hear it, but now your butt's straight up in the air, ready to get kicked. Like ignorance is bliss until it comes to bite you.
I agree, but now here's the thing, Vicky, is like, what do we do about it? Because because I want to be the person who's like, I'm mad because why can't you guys see this? You guys got to see this.
I know.
Like this. We are sacrificing so many people, and people don't understand what sacrifice means. Soldiers are sacrificed. They're sacrificed continuously
Yes.
in this. And of course there's and we have like these dumbing down terms as well to try to, and I don't want to get into one topic because I know it is very heated, but is like, we'll say like a clump of cells. We downplay human life by calling it something else that it is not. Clump of cells, or possibly we say collateral damage as well. We're talking in war there. Oh, collateral damage. No, that was like a mother and her child or something like that were killed. But we kind of like try to lessen it, but it's still happening, and they're still telling you that it's happening. Like this is happening. Like I will say this: I am against war no matter what. I'm not picking a side. So like what's happening in Gaza, people just being murdered and killed in front of everyone for the world to see as a stage, and like the retaliation as well. Like I'm like, no, it has to stop. There has to be this someone. Well, I don't want to say someone, but like it has to stop this cycle, because it's cyclical, but it's picking up intensity. It is picking up with intensity, and it's getting more and more. And like you're saying, it's kind of opening these doors for these other entities to come through. It's kind of like, you know, you do so many sacrifices, or you get so much attention to it, this negative attention, then we can open a greater door to bring in these greater entities, these greater, I don't want to say beings. I don't know what to call them. They're things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you asked at the beginning of that, what do we do? How do we guard ourselves from this?
Right.
And what's really interesting, I'll give you 2 places in the Bible that addresses this.
Fantastic.
There's one verse that says, take every thought captive. Now, a lot of people, especially Christians who have grown up reading the Bible their whole life, they flip into poetry mode when they read the Bible. And so everything is so sort of flowery that they don't realize how aggressively violent the metaphors in Scripture are. Do you know what it means to take something captive? It's to kidnap someone in war and tear them away from their home and family and bring it into a camp and beat it and abuse it. It's an aggressive metaphor. Take every thought captive. Now, we aren't real good at that, especially as Americans, because we sit in our gaming chairs and we spend a good portion of our downtime when we're not at work. A good portion of our life is in just these alpha states where we got our earbuds in and we're watching movies and we're sort of tuned out and we're in a state of meditative relaxation. The Bible tells us to be sober-minded and vigilant. It tells us to always be on guard. And they've offered us so many things that just keep us in a sedate mood. So it's very hard to take every thought captive when most of us, we really don't give much thought to what we're thinking. We're not paying attention to like, oh, that's a really negative thought. Oh, that's self-loathing. Or like, oh, no, that's a lie. That's not true. So part of peace is taking every thought captive and making war with it. And the things that are intruders, those intrusive thoughts, we got to treat them like army, the opposite army. I'm going to make war with that. Get out of my head. I did not get out of here. But we don't do that. We're not very good at that. There's another key in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, and it talks about having a peace of God, and peace like Peace, not a piece of God like Piece. The peace of God, which transcends all human comprehension, meaning there's a peace available to you that you can't even fathom because you'd be in such a state of relief from all of the stress and the heartache and the brokenness and the trauma. There is a peace available to you through Jesus Christ that's so unfathomable that your brain can't even get its mind around it. And then it gives a recipe for how to obtain that peace. It says, think about things that are true, pure, lovely, excellent, admirable. And so there is this counterintuitive weapon that instead of falling for everything that's on TV, that's whipping us up into confusion, anger, grief, all these negative emotions, if we conquer our minds and the thoughts, and we take every thought captive and we wrestle them to the ground and we replace those thoughts with things that are true, pure, lovely, excellent, admirable, praiseworthy. When we think about those things, our brain will receive a peace that we can't even comprehend. It'll be a supernatural peace that in the midst of all of this terror and war and earthquakes and famines and plagues and COVIDs and election fraud and weirdness, that we can have this peace. And so the good news is we don't have to change the world. We don't have to go out there online and convince everybody to think exactly like we do and follow my religion and believe everything I believe and vote for who I vote for. All you have to do for peace is to reform your own thought life. And it's so much more easy than getting online and trying to convince a bunch of trolls and enemies and strangers to think exactly like you think.
It's so true. And it's kind of, it's funny that you bring that up, because I've been really, I mentioned Jerry Marzinski earlier, and he was talking about like these intrusive thoughts. And he is like, those intrusive thoughts are actually outside. They're not your own. They're being brought into you. And we're talking about that. And it's kind of something that I've been working on as well. It's like, I just need to, work on myself. And when you're talking about like attacking these trolls and whatnot, I'm getting to the point now where because I used to fight a lot because I was like, this is the truth. And now I've just gotten to a point where I'll start to write and I'm like, it's not worth my energy. It's not worth my time. What am I gaining out of this? Absolutely nothing anymore. Like there's nothing to be gained because these people don't see the truth, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that they are in a state that I can't converse with. And there's nothing that I will do to convince them otherwise. And it will steal my time and my energy where I could be giving that to, like you said, things of excellence, of admirable, which is like my family. Why am I spending some time arguing with a person online when I could be hanging out with my daughter or with my wife or something like that? And it's kind of like, I really have to learn that. And I've also come to a realization that I do sometimes live in a alternate reality, almost like a fake world per se. Like I try to think that things are differently, but I think I need to accept that certain things, I can't avoid certain truths, and I have to accept that, which means dying of certain things in my life have to die. Relationships have to die, and that is okay, And I and just realizations I've been having is like, I think I'm a baby in this world because I want all family and everything to be perfect and to love and everything is perfect, but it's not. And that's the world that I'm living in, is kind of like this reality that really doesn't exist. I think I need to come to the reality that I need to stop running after the ones that don't want to reciprocate that. And I just, stay with like you said, with this excellence, with this love, what's near you, and surround yourself with that. And don't try to bring in the ones that aren't ready there. Maybe they'll get to that point and if they do, great. But if they don't, it's okay to walk away from those things.
Yes, yes. So along these lines, Rye, isn't it fascinating? My stats are outdated. They go back to like 2022 or something like that. But back in 2022, it was something like some astronomical number of Facebook profiles were bots, right? And they were trying to clean them all up and they got a bunch deleted. And even like I was asking my social media manager the other day, like, hey, how come like every day, like I have a certain number of like people that like will fall off my TikTok or whatever. It's like, am I offending people or what? Not that I care. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but he's like, no, he's like, they scrub for bots. So sometimes like they're actually just scrubbing bots off your channel and stuff. I'm like, oh, that makes, so I know that they're attempting to scrub bots off, or so they tell us. But here's the deal. The bots are always dinks, right? The bots are always calling you names or saying like really racist or nasty things. And that's another thing too, like you said earlier, like why are they showing a full assassination where we're not even allowed, we have to come up with stupid words now, like unalived himself. It's like, it's so
Right.
stupid. Like what's so stupid about that, right? it's so foreign to our thinking because it's that I have to actually ponder what unalived himself meant way more than if someone had actually said the S word. So I'm actually thinking more about someone unaliving themselves by you saying it that way. You're actually putting more of a thought into my head by making me think about it all the more
True.
harder. And so these bots always just want to trigger you and start a fight or whatever. Why aren't there bots out there that are kind? How come there aren't bots out there that are programmed to say, have a nice day? Hey, hang in there, buddy. Life's tough. No. It, there's an agenda here to keep people stirred up and in a frenzy. Now, here's something that I have to do. I don't get very worked up over comments. Right. Here's the wonderful
I'm getting
upshot.
better at that. I'm getting better at that.
Here is the wonderful upshot to having been born with a facial deformity that required 15 years of surgery. That means my entire school existence, all the way through 12th grade, I was made fun of, right? We're kids. It's a dog eat dog world. And so, I got all this stuff, Frankenstein, Freddy Krueger, Scarface, like Icky Vicky, all that stuff, right? So when you have 18 years of experience, you develop a very thick skin because you are taking thoughts captive. I want to be a happy joy. I'm going to enjoy my life. You can't take it. I have one life. I am going to have a good life. So you have to learn how to throw off all the mean comments and whatever. And so at this point, if someone wants to make a comment against my religion, against Jesus, against my faith, I could care less. But every once in a while, you got a day where you're really tired and you're hungry and all the planets have aligned and you get this comment. Usually the comments that bug me are the Christians, because they're saying things that are just so ridiculous. But anyway, here's the deal. Before I comment, before I ever comment back, and a lot of times I don't have time to respond to every comment, but I will think of the verse that says, it's a proverb. So Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, said, a gentle answer turns away wrath. Now, doesn't work with bots because they're not human. They're algorithms and programs, right? But here's the deal. I have noticed that with about 99% accuracy, if I respond in a positive way or with humor or with whatever, they'll either never reply back or they'll come back rational and then we can have a good conversation. And there's always a percentage of people that no matter what you say, you could say, hey, send me your address and I'll give you $1 million and they're still going to fight with you. Like there's people that are just all they want to do is fight. And then in those cases where I just think, I don't know what that person has been through, that they are so full of negativity that's their problem. I can't walk away with any of that on me. And so that has helped me a lot. A gentle answer turns away wrath. And so, but here's sort of where I'm at now, Rye. I am not going to engage with someone or argue with them or disagree with them unless eternity is at stake. Ultimately, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you sleep with. I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm not going to run the moral, decisions in your life. I'm not going to sit and fight with a stranger over stuff like that. But if you write something and that thing that you believe is a lie and it is a deception and it is going to lead to you losing your soul, I don't care if it starts an argument or if you hate me or if you call me names. The fact is, I am obligated as a fellow human being to do the loving thing, which is to warn you, be very careful. This is a lie and it's a deadly one. But if we're just arguing over politics or religious traditions or how to pronounce Jesus's name. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to give too much of my energy to that. Now, where I will give an exception to that is there are now a lot of Christians online saying in my comment section, if you say Jesus instead of Yahweh, Yahuwah, or Yeshua, he won't save you. He can't help you unless you pronounce it this way. Then I'm going to say something because, like it or not, Rye, Christians and non-Christians have been calling on the name of Jesus for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it does work for a lot of people. So let's not send a message to people being tormented by demons that they can't be helped unless they pronounce the name exactly right. And then as a Christian community, let's all disagree on how to pronounce it to add further confusion. So I will kind of get involved in that kind of stuff because we got to stop attaching all of our particular traditions to what every other sleep paralysis experiencer out there needs to do.
Yes. Yes, I agree. It's like the superiority. It's like you're not pronouncing it correctly. You need to say it like this. Otherwise, it's like, I guarantee you Jesus doesn't care. If you like, I get so many times where, because, I go by Ryan as well. And sometimes when I'm saying my name is Ryan, especially here in Mexico, when I say Ryan, they always say Brian. I'm not going to ignore them when they call me Brian instead of Ryan, or they call me Ray instead of Rye. I'm like, it's trivial,
Yeah. Well, and what it really comes down to, Rye, is the demons know who you're summoning. Even if you're pronouncing the name wrong, which we all are, right? We're into the 21st century now. We're 2,000 years removed. I don't know the precise Aramaic pronunciation of his name. And even if you tell me it's, one person tells me it's Yeshua, another person says it's Yahshua, another, um, I don't know. The Aramaic language, the Hebrew language has changed over 2,000 years. I don't even know if the way in Israel they pronounce the name Jesus to this day would have been the same as 2,000 years ago. I don't know. I'm not a linguist, but here's the deal. The demons know who you're summoning. So they're not fleeing because a certain vibrational frequency of G and Zus went into the air, right? They know who you're summoning. And if they think that there is a statistical chance that the guy we're summoning is going to show up, there's been times, Rye, where in sleep paralysis, I've said, help me. And in my mind, I know I'm talking to Jesus, but I don't even say his name. And it still works out. And so I think that we're doing a real disservice. If you look at the people that have suffered from this kind of stuff their whole life, a lot of them are trauma survivors, abuse survivors, PTSD, ritual abuse survivors. They come from generational Satanist families, generational witchcraft, high-ranking military, Freemasonic or secret societies. These are people who are deeply entangled in covenants. And if you're now telling them the only hope in the world is the God of the Bible, but if you don't Rumpelstiltskin his name in just the right way, he won't help you, what an absolute disservice. So, hey, if you're a Christian and Jesus has revealed to you through decades of following him and obeying him and walking with him, if he at one moment in time revealed to you, hey, we have such a close relationship now, I'm going to reveal a deeper level of me, call me Yeshua. If he revealed that to you, that is wonderful. But you can't go online and tell every human being on planet Earth that the only way that Jesus is going to rescue them is if they use this special pronunciation. It's from the pit of hell, Rye. I've had a few people call me in tears because they have called on the name of Jesus their whole life and been rescued from these experiences. And then they got involved with or attached to someone with these sacred names, and now they're confused. Well, so if Jesus doesn't respond to that, who was the one rescuing me all those years? It wasn't Jesus? What was I? It causes so much terror and confusion when you're talking about someone who already has a diminished mental capacity because of decades of trauma and abuse. And a lot of these people have handlers, and they've found out that half the people in their life that said they loved them were liars. And we really have to show mercy and patience and kindness to these victims and not put our own legalistic fears upon them. Jesus is big enough to understand when broken, unchurched people are calling on his name in an English accent.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, and it kind of lends credence to this division that is happening. It's this interdivision within the Christianity faith as well. I wonder where those ideas are coming from. It's a superiority complex that's in there too, and which is ego, and which leads us to this. And when you were talking about like just not engaging or just being polite, I've been thinking about willpower lately, and willpower. I think we don't give. I actually think it should be called God power, because it is to resist temptation. And I feel that the better I've been growing my willpower, I feel that the more, closer I am to God. And it's kind of like to refuse these things that I shouldn't be partaking in or doing, and I feel that it's a stronger connection with God, that I believe that maybe we should all work on not harvesting, but encouraging and growing within ourselves is this God power. And
Yes.
I from now on, I think I'm going to start to call it that, because, and I feel that when I am able to refuse something that I know that is not right for me, and it could be something, and it's as simple as like going to the store and, oh, I want a chocolate bar, and it's like, no, your body, your temple, your body doesn't need that. You shouldn't be partaking with that, and it's that thing. Like right now, I'm doing intermittent fasting for 18 hours a day, and I feel like the strength growing within me, that it's like becoming stronger, and it's when I do have some times where it's a little difficult, God give me a little bit of help here, and He does. So I feel that it's, if I strengthen myself spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, that, I'm working within, so that I can actually start to maybe myself try to help heal the world by healing myself individually.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I got a little word for you here, a word of encouragement, right? So, you're a public figure in that you come on and you podcast and people are listening to the things that you say. So you are a teacher of sorts. When you talk about willpower, when we talk about gentle answers, turning away wrath, and how and when do we interact with negativity when it's coming through and directed directly at us? This is from the book of James, chapter 3. Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, knowing that we will incur a stricter judgment. Okay? For we all stumble in many ways. If anyone does not stumble in what he says, he's a perfect man, able to bridle his entire body as well. Now, if we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we direct their entire body as well. Look at the ships also. Though they are so great and are driven by strong winds, they are still directed by a very small rudder wherever the inclination of the pilot desires. So also the tongue is a small part of the body, and yet it boasts of great things. See how great a forest is set aflame by such a small fire, and the tongue is a fire, the very world of iniquity. The tongue is set among our members as that which defiles the entire body and sets on fire the course of our life and is set on fire by hell. Wow. So
Yes.
for those of us like you and I who come online and, fire hose everybody with all of our thoughts and opinions, our mouth, it's like the rudder of a ship. You've got winds and waves, powerful things, and a little rudder directs these massive ships. You put a little bridle in a horse's mouth and it directs the whole body. And so just what you're saying, if you control, let's not even talk about words that come out. If you control what you're putting in your mouth, which takes a massive amount of self-discipline, if you take control of your flesh and you say, I'm not going to stuff something in my mouth every single time I'm hungry or I want a sugar rush, that is going to affect your entire body, your soul, your heart, your mind, your thoughts, your life. It's a trickle down effect. And so all day long, you just look at some of the biggest problems we have in the world right now, in America anyway. You've got people eating themselves to death because we're eating ourselves into bad health with this standard American diet. And you've got all of these people just screaming and yelling at each other and foisting their opinions on everyone. And it's what's going in and out of the mouth that's affecting our entire culture.
You're 100% correct. It is
crazy to think about that.
It is. And as you're saying, we put ourselves out there, and I don't put myself on a pedestal at all. In fact, I feel like the spotlight is on me, but more of like, I think it's benefiting me in a way to be more aware of what I do and what I say, because it's drawing more attention. It's not like, hey, everyone, look at me. No, it's like everybody is looking at me, and I need to do better.
Yeah. There's a weight of responsibility.
I'm not a perfect man by any means at all. And it could kind of really accentuates that it's like, yeah, I have areas I see now that I have more areas that I need to work on. And I will say, over the past couple of years of doing this, that, I believe I have evolved. And I don't mean like I'm better. I'm bettering myself. I'm elevating myself, not above everyone else, but above who I used to be.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And it's crazy too, Rye. There's different reasons why people write books, and there's different reasons that people do podcasting. We're all motivated by different things. And I can tell you, never in a million years did I envision being online. Up until my book came out, I was not on social media. I wasn't on Facebook. I didn't do any of that. I was very sort of private and reclusive. And I never set out to do this because I had self-published like 8 or 9 books before this one. And, you put it on Amazon, 20 people buy it. I had no idea that this topic of sleep paralysis was going to resonate with so many people. I was just writing about it because it was of personal interest to me, having suffered from it my whole life. It was my own journey of trying to figure it out. I thought I'll throw it out there in case there's a few other people. I had no idea, nor did I understand at 10 years old back in,
But you were saying though that, yeah, what you've done, like you never thought would resonate as much as it has, but it has. Like
never.
People are looking. People are all faced with this. Like a lot of people, I think that they're on their own fighting these battles, and now they're starting to realize, like you are being pushed forward because you are there. Not as I don't want to say like I'm not a leader. Yeah, we are leaders, but it's not in that context. We are showing people that this is happening to everyone,
Yeah.
and these are possibly the answers, and you are not alone. That's one of the greatest statements, is that you are not alone. We
Yeah,
are not alone.
absolutely. Which ties back into the Ephesians 6:12. The battle's not against flesh and blood. What that is really saying, Rye, is if we would get over all of this horizontal bickering amongst the sexes and amongst the religions and all the politics and all that, if we bound together, we could start fighting the real enemy, which is a vertical enemy, because we're talking about things in the heavenly places. And that's a really confusing term in the English. In the Greek, it's the epuranios. And if you do the real concordance, like the Thayers, like if you go in and you get, knee deep into the concordances, the epuranios it's not heaven. The heavenly places is what we would call the astral plane. It's this area where all the fallen ones were relegated to when they rebelled. You can't live in heaven anymore because you've rebelled, but you can't live on earth anymore either because you're not a terrestrial being. You're a spiritual being. So we have to understand that if you want to believe the Bible, not because it's a rule book and you can't do this and you can't do that, but maybe it is a spiritual warfare handbook where we're being trained in how to not be taken over by these things. It says that the enemies of mankind live in the epuranios. They're the fallen ones. They were kicked out of heaven, but they're not allowed down on earth. They're not the demons. They're not allowed down on earth because they're not terrestrial. This is the terrestrial ball, as they used to say in the old days, right? But we're terrestrial. And so when we traverse onto their grounds, we leave our bodies and we go up into these heavenly places. I don't care how higher vibrational the beings are, or how bright they are, or how full of love they are, or how much dopamine they kick out of your head, or what sort of arcane secrets they give you, or if you're engaging in astral sex, or they're giving you spiritual gifts. I don't care how nice they are to you or how beautiful they are. You have left your first estate. You're a terrestrial being living on a terrestrial place, a terrestrial plane. And when you leave your terrestrial plane and you cross the threshold into someone else's territory, you are susceptible to the laws of that place that you don't know. And so here's the deal. It's dangerous even world traveling. If you get on an airplane and you go to a culture that is significantly different than your own, different language, different rules, different religion, different traditions, different things that are offensive to them. So like every culture has their symbols and stuff. So here in America, if you give someone the middle finger, we all know what that means. But you can do the slightest little thing in another culture, like rub your nose or whatever, and you might be in huge trouble. You might have offended them. You don't know. And so if we can't even effectively travel to another country because we don't understand their turf, but we expect to leave our physical bodies and traverse to another dimensional plane and somehow think that we're going to be just welcomed there and everyone's going to love and admire us and nobody there has any ill intent. And I've heard it all, Rye. I know, there's layers, and the riffraff and the lower vibrational beings are down here. But if you get higher and higher and higher, they get nicer and nicer and better and better. That's like saying it's 1 a.m. and you are walking in the jungle, and that somehow if you walk deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the jungle, it's going to get safer. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? So, I, again, because everybody bases their information on their own experiences and emotions, because we don't have a textbook on this. The
Yeah, we
Bible
don't.
doesn't even talk a lot on it.
Mhm.
So if your experience is every time I go to the astral realm, I meet these wonderful people and I explode with dopamine and have these orgasmic like experiences and they give me all these gifts, you're never going to think it's a dangerous place. So this is where, again, going full circle, there's so much gray area. And there's a verse in scripture that says, in fact, it says it a couple places, the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can trace it out? And we are told, and this is the part of the verse that even a lot of Christians don't think about a lot. We're told to love the Lord our God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And a lot of religion nowadays, including Christianity, we're being taught how to love and pursue life with our heart, soul, and strength, with passion and heart and love and light. But very few of these religions and traditions are telling us to do things with our mind. Think about this. Use your common sense. Use logic. Think about this. Test these spirits. Just because something is kind and offering you gifts, think about the guy. Let's do a really obnoxious metaphor. If you're the mother of a 5-year-old child, and every day a white paneled van with no windows pulls up into your driveway and someone gets out and offers your child a lollipop, do you think that's a really kind guy because he's giving your kid a gift? He's giving the gift because he's grooming the child and trying to get him in the back seat, trying to get him in the van, right? And that is really how I compare the astral realm. Yes, of course, because it is a grooming agenda. They're not going to say, here's the contract, here's everything that's going to happen up front, here's the fine print. No, they're going to lure you in. So it might be a week, it might be 10 years. They're going to do whatever it takes to make you feel 100% safe. And they're going to give you gifts and they're going to flatter you and they're going to tell you you're gifted and you're a chosen one and you're a star seed and you came from another planet and you're better than all humanity because you've ascended. They're going to make you, and if you're an individual who came out of trauma and brokenness and there's unhealed brokenness and trauma in your life and you've been abandoned and rejected and hurt by everyone in your life, you will respond to that kind of love. A supernatural being comes and tells you you're special, they're going to wait until you feel completely safe. And one day, for the 100th time, you're going to be up in that astral realm and you're not going to realize until it's too late that you're in the back of the van.
I agree. I agree totally. It's clear as day, like if you have a demonic type of entity that comes off with horns and a pitchfork and a perforated tail, kind of like a spiked tail, and dripping blood and fangs and gore, you're going to run the other way. You're not going to hang out with them and be like, "Oh, this is awesome." But if you are presented with that free lollipop every single day, you know, you're going to be like, "This is great. This is great. I'm special. I'm being honored. I've been chosen. This is fantastic. They are my family." And then, like you said, you wake up to find yourself in the back of the van.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And Rye, this is where my heart's at because I empathize. I experienced this stuff since I was probably 2 or 3 years old, maybe even before. I just don't have a memory of it. And I think that there's things that occurred in the astral with me that I don't have a memory of. But I recognize that things must have happened because it's affecting my physical world in a way that's incongruent with the choices I've made and the traditions I follow. Like there are mental and psychological side effects of things that usually occur in people that make certain decisions. So I understand that there's probably things I don't remember, or there's depths and levels to this that I haven't unfolded yet. So I'm not going to look at someone who is deeply enmeshed in this, people who astral project, people who think that they're a starseed. I am never going to mock those people. I'm never going to judge those people. I'm never going to be sarcastic or morally superior to them, because I went through the same breeding program that they did. I just had a few advantages. I was raised in a stable home with a mom and dad that were married for almost 50 years. And I was safe in that home. And I grew up with a biblical foundation. So whether your listeners agree with the Bible or not, it doesn't even matter. I had something solid to stand on. I had a compass.
Yes.
And so the fact is, when you have people who have been broken and abused and programmed and traumatized and ritualized their whole life, and they come to find out in adulthood that everyone in their life was part of a coven or was a handler. Oh, that really wasn't my husband. That was someone chosen by my family to keep tabs on me. Oh, that really wasn't my best friend. Those coworkers, like when you find out your whole life is a Truman Show, I am never going to have anything but compassion for people that have been treated that way. And so this is where we have to understand that little Band-Aids are not going to help. This whole well, if you just roll over, don't sleep on your back and it'll never happen again. Or don't eat pizza before you go to bed and it'll never happen again. Well, just say Jesus and it'll never happen again. You do not understand the depths of this agenda and how many millennia it goes back if you think that just rolling over on your side or not eating pizza or saying a magic word is going to stop this. This is so much more organized than just nightmares or insomnia or you're a mouth breather or you're schizophrenic. And Rye, I think we're coming out of that, because I will tell you, about a month ago, I asked ChatGPT,
Okay.
what is the link between sleep paralysis and schizophrenia? Because that's the official narrative, that you're schizophrenic if you have it. And that's why I'm super interested in checking out this Jerry Marzinski guy. The official ChatGPT answer, after it collected every single, thing on the web that it had to collect from, was, though sleep paralysis and schizophrenia have certain things in common, such as hallucinations and hearing voices, the two are not the same. And then it went on to say that 12% of people diagnosed with schizophrenia report sleep paralysis. Guess what the official narrative for human beings collectively who experience sleep paralysis is?
12%?
They say 17%.
17%.
Now, I think that's a bunch of bullcrap, because I think it's way higher. But here's the deal. If collective humanity, if 17% of all human beings experience sleep paralysis and 12% of those with a diagnosis of schizophrenia report it, there's no news there. And I'm very careful, Rye, to say people diagnosed with schizophrenia, because this whole idea of people saying, I'm schizophrenic. Okay, I'm is a contraction for I am. I am schizophrenic. I am autistic. That is not who you are. Who you are transcends that. You are
Yes.
fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of a creator, capital C. My tradition says that it's God, likely the pre, you know, the Messiah, pre-incarnate Messiah. I can pull that word out there. But here's the deal, Rye. When we reduce ourselves down to our mental and physical diagnoses, oh, I'm autistic. I'm schizophrenic. No, you're not. And there is, I'm not saying anything like spooky or metaphysical here. This is just a nocebo. So everyone's heard of a placebo effect. You give sugar pills to people, but you tell them it's a potent medication. All of a sudden, it's a psychosomatic thing and they feel better. The nocebo effect is the opposite. And that is that let's use the same example. A doctor tells a perfectly healthy patient every time they come in, you have stage 4 cancer. They actually can develop stage 4 cancer based upon that being spoken over them.
Yes.
And this isn't religion. This isn't a cult. This is actual science. You can look it up. Look up nocebo effect. And when we were talking earlier about these psyops and these false flags, you could have pulled off. Like, I'm not saying that they did this right, but COVID could have been pulled off without anybody getting sick. You could have pulled that off without even having a virus or a bacteria. Because if you get on the news every 2 seconds and you tell everyone in the world that they're going to die if they breathe each other's air, there will be a nocebo effect. And you can save billions of dollars from your black ops budget because it's this psychological phenomenon. And so with the nocebo effect, you can tell someone you're schizophrenic. And if they start repeating that, I'm schizophrenic, I'm schizophrenic, I'm schizophrenic, it will at some point directly affect the decline of their mental health.
Yes, correct.
They've spoken that over themselves and they've absorbed that.
And I also feel like in the U.S. specifically, in Canada it's happening as well, but a lot of people wear their mental illness as almost a badge of honor now. Like that is, it's like like you said, it's their identity, and they feel because it almost makes them special now. And I am special, and because I have this, and it's happening more and more. And I feel that we're kind of in a position now where we have to accept, like, that's my mental illness. You have to accept me no matter how I act. I'm going to excuse my actions because of my mental illness instead of taking accountability anymore. And yeah, it's becoming a very different world. It's really changing fast. Like you said, things are really picking up and we're headed in this direction. And instead of dealing with our own issues, we tell everybody else, you have to deal with my issues, and I'm going to go out and fix the world. And
Yeah.
and they're making these choices, they're making these decisions of how the world has to be fixed by they themselves being broken. And don't get me wrong, I'm completely broken myself. But I realize that, and it's like I'm making steps to rectify that, and not by popping a pill to numb it or to hide it, but by trying to fix those ones internally. And it's a big issue that we're facing right now in this world. And we this division is happening. It's becoming greater and greater. It just is. It's just compounding over everything, and it's instead of dealing with our own, looking ourselves in the mirror, we'd take 1,000 9/11s over that any day than actually dealing with our own issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, I want to touch on so many of the things that you just said. There was this shift in the 90s. And I'm saying it that way because I am not a proponent of boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and Alpha all arguing over who's better and who's stronger and all this nonsense. A good majority of my friends do not fall in my same generational category. And I'm not one of these people that I hate all that. Like, let's, you know. So with that said, around the 90s, something shifted. If you were born in the 70s, 80s, or before, you boasted in your scars. And the younger generations are being taught to boast in the wounds. Let's boast in the unhealed wounds. Boast in the brokenness. Don't boast in the victory and the scar, the healed wound that proves that you had the resilience and the strength to overcome it. It didn't break me. And at some point, there was a shift. And our younger generations are not being taught resilience, because I think resilience is instinctive in the human spirit, and somewhere that's being broken. And so we have to boast in the scars, not the wounds. And when you were talking about that, it made me think of a quote from the movie Split, the M. Night Shyamalan movie
Okay.
Split.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's obviously about a guy who has alters. He's got dissociative identity disorder, but the alter that takes over at the end, that's called the beast, he's not an alter. He's an actual, demonized part. He's not an alter. And the beast says, those who have not been torn have no value in themselves and no place in this world. That is a mouthful when you think about MK Ultra and trauma-based mind control. And this is the line. This is what's behind Chosen One, Rye. Everybody says like, oh, I'm a chosen one. And so I'm special and I'm otherworldly and I've got all these gifts. The price tag for being a chosen one is that you're broken. You're traumatized. You're split. These people that are chosen come to that conclusion after, in essence, trauma-based mind control. Now, you don't have to be in a generational Satanist family or a coven or a high-ranking military. You don't have to be hauled into a laboratory or a deep underground military base. They can trauma-based mind control chosen ones in the astral realm as well. So you might think it's super fun or creepy or weird to wake up and realize you've been traversing in the back rooms all night, or you've been in the mall world. But the fact of the matter is that is part of a trauma-based mind control simulation program where there's things going on there. You just think you're exploring and you're doing things or whatever. But the reason why a lot of people, their hackles are up in the mall world, it's not necessarily a scary place, but people feel off there. They feel like they're being chased, they're lost, or they feel like they're on some sort of a mission. It's because there's some sort of programming going on there. It's not just you exploring spaces and then getting to go on Reddit.
When you say mall world, you're talking about like the Dream State mall world is where people...
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes. Which I am coming to find out, Rye, again, there's always outliers. But what I'm finding out from the people that I've talked to, my own experiences, and the people that are posting content now about that, a vast majority of the people that have been having mall world dreams since the 80s are children who came out of the GATE programs, these gifted children programs, or even if they weren't formally part of a program for gifted children in the physical, they're typically children that have a combination of their empaths, they have a very high IQ, lots of childhood trauma, and they are experiencing it in the astral realm. They're gifted intelligence programs were going on there. And the mall world is a part of that program. I'm very interested in this stuff. I was never in the gate program, Rye, but
Myself neither.
um,
But
but I had,
I myself have had multiple mall world dreams,
yep,
yeah, I've been documenting my dreams since the 2010s. I think 2010 I've been writing down. So for the last 15 years I've been, and I've only in the last couple of years started to document the type of dream style. I used to write, this dream was this date and then write it all out. But now I'm putting a subheading of like alternate timeline, mall, anything else like that one. So
yeah,
I really need to go back through everything to start to decipher which ones are the mall world ones.
yeah. You know what's really fascinating to me, Rye, about the mall world dreams, and I've never said this online before. This is my first time saying this. Whenever I have a sleep paralysis incident, no matter how obscure or how terrifying, like no matter where on the spectrum it is by way of scary, because sometimes they can be subtle. Even from the time I was 4 years old, I would instinctively understand that something was wrong and I was in peril. And I would say, Jesus, help me, or I'd be mommy, or like I knew. I've been having these stupid mall world dreams, for, 30 some years now. I have never, even now that I know it's part of this same agenda, and that even if it's not direct, like demonic attack, that I'm being observed or something's going on. So even though I now in my waking mind know that this is another place I want to avoid, never in these 30 years of having these dreams, during the dream, have I ever had a conscious thought, oh crap, this is the mall world. Oh, I got to get out of here. Oh, Jesus, help me or wake me up. I have access to my conscious mind. Like I'll be like, I'm lost, or like, oh no, not this creepy mall again. Like I have access to my prefrontal cortex. So I'm lucid, but I'm completely detached from my faith or my worldview to fight to wake up or get out of there or say this is just a dream and then it goes away. So it's almost like they have figured out a way, even when we're lucid, to make us forget certain aspects. It's very strange. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yes, it's like they kind of were able to bypass, sidestep that, or put that into, like a lock under a lock and key almost, and kind of like remove that aspect.
Yeah, it's very weird, and it almost makes me wonder if I'm just pure speculation here, right? Maybe all these decades of them pulling people into the mall world is a way of them honing their craft. Maybe all this experimentation of, okay, how are they going to handle their fear? How are they going to handle the anxiety? What happens when they're lost? Are they, because it very much is like a video game where through the years, you do figure out what the layout is. Like you figure out the blueprint and you remember certain places and you go visit certain stores and then you figure out, okay, now I know where the exit is. But then you get out and then it's like you're at the next level. Okay, so now you got out of the mall, but now there's a parking lot with 4,000 cars and you can't find your car. So it's like
You know
and
what's hilarious, Vicky, is while we're talking here, I was just like going through my dream journal, and the one it's such coincidental. I was like being chased by this robot, got out of the mall and hid in a parking lot, trying to find a car to hide in a parking lot. And you're just saying this, and I'm like, oh my god, see,
I know, dude. So this is kind of crazy. After years of being stuck in the mall, I figured out how to get out of the mall. And for me, I have to go to the very end to one of the department stores and it's always decorated for Christmas. So it's
oh
got the
wow,
Christmas displays out. And I realized that if I go all the way in the back through an employee entrance, there's a break room and there's a back door into the parking lot there. But I have to go into the break room and then I get yelled at by the employees saying, get out of here. You're not allowed in here. And I'm like, screw you. I know where the door is. And I have to run out the door. But then for years, I was trapped in the mall looking for my car. And I never figured out how to find my car. But what I did figure out eventually is, screw this. I'm walking home. So then for years, I would start to walk and then I would get a few blocks into it and realize, wait, I'm miles and miles from home. So then it starts getting dark and now I'm trapped in a neighborhood. And this just kind of progressively went on and on because like it's been like 30 years. And it got to the point where I don't know if I beat the system or not because
You found
a
the
year
exit?
or a year or so ago in the neighborhood that's dead, everything is shut down because it's past dark now. I found on a corner a Irish pub that's open all hours of the night. And I would go in and I would ask the two girls standing at the like hostess stand, can I use your phone? And they say, we don't have a phone. And then the second time I went, I was like, oh, wait, there's a pub open. And I found the pub and I said, can I use your phone? And they said, we don't have a phone. And I went, oh, that's right. Like I remembered it. And they had told me, but if you wait outside on the sidewalk, there's like a sober cab service because it's a bar, right? And so you can get a ride. And so the first time I was there, I waited and no cab came. The second time when they're like, we don't have a phone, I'm like, oh, that's right. And then I remembered and I said, oh, but there's a sober cab. And they said, yes. And I went out. This time, like a trolley showed up, kind of like if you're doing like a Universal Studio tour, kind of one of those open trolleys with the canvas on top. And the driver got out and he told me his name, which I can't remember, but it was something very like ancient sounding, like Gabriel or, it was something, I can't remember what it was. And he was very friendly. And I did not get the sense that there was anything nefarious about him. And he escorted me over the threshold onto this trolley. And I sat down and you know how in the mall world, you can see other people, but you hardly ever talk to each other?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I get in the trolley and everybody is in there and they're excitedly talking to each other and they're like, oh, hi, and they kept saying, you made it. And Gabriel or whatever his name is, he's so nice. And like, oh, you'll love him. And anytime you get lost, like he'll help you and whatever. And what's crazy then, I still am not 100% there. I found the trolley, but now what happens is everybody gets dropped off and I'm the last one on the trolley and he drives me into a neighborhood to a house where I really live. And I'll say, but I don't live here anymore. And he'll say like, no, it's okay. Like, this is where you need to get off. I'm like, but I don't live here anymore. Like, I don't even live in that state anymore. And he's like, no, it's okay. This is where you need to get off. And so it's interesting, Rye, the house that I keep getting dropped off at, I wake up at that point. But the house that I get dropped off at is a house where there is a lot of unresolved trauma. It was the years where I was bullied the most at school. And there's just so much to this, Rye. And look, do I have it figured out? By no means. Am I the expert on this stuff? By no means. I'm just trying to find other people and have conversations and try to figure it out together. But I want people to understand this stuff is more than dreams. It's more than a piece of pizza you had before you went to bed. It's more than a bad thing you did there's something going on here. There's an interaction with another realm going on here.
And do you know what I feel like? I don't know. When you said the trolley man, all I could think of was like the ferryman, like the ferryman's ferrying souls in the underworld, collecting, everybody's getting on and he's collecting and taking people there. And I wonder if it's like, because I know in Greek mythology, they said it's a Sharon or Karen or something like that. I might be butchering that. But I don't know. Just something that popped into my mind. Doesn't mean it's right or nothing. But when you said this trolley man. I was like, oh, the ferryman, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can digress for a moment into Nosferatu.
Yes.
So in the 2024 edition, the Eggert December 2024 version of the film, I sort of had an aha moment when Thomas goes to the inn where all the gypsies are. He has a nightmare, and then he wakes up, and I realized there was a glitch. You know how I'm always telling people with sleep paralysis, you're not really awake yet because there's always a glitch
Correct.
in the room.
There's something not right out of that whole
Yeah.
scene. There's something that's off or something like that.
When Thomas wakes up from his nightmare, the crucifix that the innkeeper's wife had given to him that he tossed to the side on the nightstand because he thought it was ridiculous, he wakes up with it around his neck, clutching it. It's a glitch. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, he's not awake yet. And then when he wakes up, he goes outside and the whole city is abandoned. There's nobody there. And the stableman's there, not there. His horse isn't there. This is another glitch. It's a dream within a dream within a dream. Now, interestingly, if you read the screenplay online, there's a deleted scene where he actually does run into someone, but it gives it away. It so gives it away that I think that they cut it out because they wanted it to remain more ambiguous. So then he gets to this point of no return on the mountain, and it's very hard to catch all this stuff unless you're reading the screenplay because they mention the name of this place, and it kind of means it literally means the place that no human being can go beyond. And he goes beyond it. Then all of a sudden, even though he's walking up a mountain, he comes to a crossroads, which is a liminal space, and the ferryman shows up, but it's in the form of a carriage with no driver. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this, okay, he's at a liminal space and this carriage comes to get him. I'm going to know that he's still asleep or that he's astrally projected. He's in the underworld.
Yes.
And I'm going to know it if when he gets to the gate of Orlok's castle, Cerberus is guarding the door, which is the three-headed dog that guards. Right. So I'm waiting for a three-headed dog. Well, that would have been too much of a giveaway. People would have picked up on it. So what happens as soon as they get to Orlok Castle, 3 huge dogs come running out. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. So here we have embedded into this whole story, like everything that's happening to Ellen is when she's asleep because she's sleepwalking. But the same thing is happening to her husband, Thomas. Every time they're having an interaction with Orlok, they're in an out-of-body astral state. She's sleepwalking. I think he is in the inn the whole time, his body. That's my little theory. And it isn't until Thomas signs a contract, which Orlok calls betrothal papers, interestingly. It's not until Thomas signs the contract that Orlok now has the ability to leave the castle, leave the underworld, and get on the boat. The Empusa, by the way, which I think is some sort of ancient goddess of something, I can't remember. And he controls the wind and the waves, and now he's in the physical realm. Now he's a tangible guy living across the street from them in Visburg, right? So that movie, if you are a lifelong sleep paralysis sufferer and you know what to look for, that movie is a dead giveaway of the entire sleep paralysis, spirit spouse, incubus, grooming agenda. Now, the disinformation comes at the end. You're not a god. And if you sacrifice yourself, you are the Messiah that saves the whole village. Like that's the whole bit of disinformation. There's a way of getting out of this without being, raped by a demon and murdered. And there's easier ways out of it than that. But that movie just blew my mind. It was actually, I don't think I've ever been triggered in my whole life, Ryan. That movie was extremely triggering to me on many levels. And because when you just sit there your whole life thinking like, oh, I've had all these nightmares and it has to do with trauma, and then even when you figure out some of the stuff I have, like, well, oh no, you probably really were interacting with demons and there were probably were covenants and contracts, but you still have this naive, like, Jesus filter on, like, well, he protected me from everything and everything's fine. And then when you see it laid out like that, it was just this slap in the face wake up call as to how serious this stuff really is. And the one accurate piece that is about the ending is if you don't understand how to navigate out of it, you will, in essence, lose your soul. But the way that they used all the Enochian magic and the, was it that she was the spirit of Isis, and that basically if you become your own God and you lay down your life sacrificially, you can save the whole world from the plague. And that's actually blasphemous. That's like, you can be your own God. Jesus didn't die for the world. I can do it. Like there's some really bad stuff mixed in
I
there
see that.
if you dig into it. But that movie, as grotesque as it was, after I saw it, I said, I'm never going to watch this again. But I borrowed heavily from it in one of the books that's coming out next year, the follow-up to They Only Come Out at Night. But what I did is I referenced the screenplay. I ended up reading the screenplay about 3 or 4 times, and there's so much more given away if you're reading the screenplay. They make it a lot more obvious in the director's notes of the things that they're trying to portray there.
To convey across, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Vicky, this has been quite the conversation. Very interesting. I don't know. I love these conversations. We didn't really have a set topic, but it just, you went with it, and I love it. It's completely fascinating. We've gotten to a point where I think the bottom line is the deceit is out there. We have to be aware because it's in full swing, and we are special. Don't think that some entity has to come to
Yes.
tell you tell you that you're the chosen one. You are a special one. No, we already are
Yes.
special. We don't need something else coming out and telling us that.
I am so glad that you said that. In the book of First Peter, it talks about the chosen ones, the real chosen ones. And it says, among all the things, that you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood. So what Jesus is offering is, if you sign up to be a part of my kingdom, you will be chosen, you will be special, you will be given a royal title for all of eternity. And anything below that, Rye, is a demotion. And when you add to the fact that, I can be a chosen person with a royal title in this kingdom or this council or this plane of existence or whatever, the fact is it's temporary. Not only because judgment is coming, but also because these entities are imprisoned. They're trapped in these places because they were already punished once for coming down and manifesting in the physical. That's the whole flood story, right? So these things are only using mankind to forward their own agenda. And once they get their kingdom established on earth and they don't need all the chosen ones anymore, you'll be tossed aside just like everybody else that used you. Like they will use you as long as it takes and as long as you have something valuable to them. And I think that's why there's such a disparagence between people's astral experiences. If you go online and you learn how to astral project because you watch a bunch of YouTube videos, if you're not of the right bloodline or you don't have the right giftings or the right IQ or the right whatever they're looking for, they will immediately give you a bad experience so you don't ever want to do it again because you're garbage to them. You don't have anything to offer. Now, if you have something to offer them, they will play nice and wear the pretty masks as long as they have to.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly it. You're as long as you have something to offer, something of use for them, you will be useful up until a point. But when that's done, you're going to be done.
Yeah.
And then you're going to feel that emptiness again and that need to fill that void and perhaps find some other entity that's going to tell you that you're special as well. Now, it's a very it's and I can empathize with these people, but it's like
Me too.
we need to know that you are special. You are the chosen one. The chosen ones already. Quit looking to fulfill that need over and over again. You have to believe and have faith in this lifetime that in past that it'll be there for you.
Yeah. Amen. I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said. I also empathize because these people are being deceived. But everything they have to offer, it's a demotion from where we're already at. We're going to go from created in the image of God to some transhuman uploaded consciousness. It's a demotion. The human brain that we only allegedly use 10% of is the most powerful supercomputer ever invented. You can keep making quantum computers. The fact of the matter is, becoming part of a quantum hive mind is actually a demotion from the full capacity of the brain that you already have in your head right now, even in its fallen and not fully used to capacity state. So I don't know, Rye. The glitter and gold that they're offering is going to be so mesmerizing to most people. We can't even wait 5 minutes to run to the Apple store to get the latest iPhone because we're so mesmerized by it. Like, what happens when they start giving us the capacity to be godlike?
Yes.
And they're going to offer it to us. And for a very brief moment in time, you will experience that, but it will be brief.
Yeah. Yes. And then imprisonment. Like this godliness or living forever, actually, in my opinion, would be like transhumanism, uploading your consciousness into something, but then it becomes a prison, and then you are imprisoned within this technological society, and maybe this is, and that will be all and you think that will be the ends and the means, but it's not. There's something so much more. I agree, Vicky.
Yeah. You know, Rye, if they technologically were able to offer me eternal life, you'll never die. No one you love will ever die. You'll never get sick. You'll never grow old. You'll never gain weight. This still isn't the reality I want eternal life in. Because it's still fallen. So you don't get sick and you don't die and you don't get fat, but you're not going to morally perfect me. So I'm still going to have my heart broken. I'm still going to have rejection. I'm still going to be ghosted by friends. I'm still going to be hurt. I'm still going to have to go to work. I'm still going to have coworkers that drive me nuts. This is not the reality I want my eternity in.
It's true. That's a great point. That is a fantastic point. Fighting over crazy things. The Android is better than the iPhone, and like these crazy why these meaningless things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Vicky, I want to say thank you so much for coming out today. It was great. I always appreciate our conversations, and I really enjoyed them because you have so much to say, and it's very valuable as well. So I want to say thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love these conversations too. And Rye, everything we've talked about, all we can do is theorize and speculate. And the only thing I encourage your listeners to do, you don't have to believe what I believe or think what I think or agree with what I agree with. My only counsel to you is test every spirit, because a lot of them are wolves in sheep's clothing. A lot of them are deceptive. Just test every spirit. Just because something makes you feel good or has not yet burned you does not mean you're not being lured to the van.
I think that's fantastic. And Vicky, we never did it at the beginning, but let everybody know where they can find you. I'll make sure everything's in the show notes as well. But if they're looking for you, Vicky, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place to find me is VickyJoyAnderson.com. All of the shortcuts to my social media and my email address and podcasts I've been on and books, everything's there. And my book, They Only Come Out at Night, Exposing the Dark Weapon of Sleep Paralysis, is available at lamarzulli.net, or you can go to VickyJoyAnderson.com, click on the book cover, and it'll take you to LA's site.
Perfect. All right, Vicky, thank you so much for this. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation as always. All right, everyone, I want to thank you. Yeah, I want to thank you for being here and being part of this, and listening. And if some things that we've said really bothered you, maybe question why they're bothering you. I really think what Vicky said at the very end is question them. Ask the questions, test them. Test these entities that are coming to you. Are they really there for your highest good? They can say that, but are they truly there for that? I don't know. And I was into this all years ago as well, and I'm taking that step back and just seeing things for what I see them for. And it's up to you to see them that way as well. You got to start seeing these things. I hope you do. I pray that you do, but that's your journey. It's not my journey. You can just listen to our words. And if it resonates with you, great. Or if it really rubbed you the wrong way, well, look into why it's bothering you so much. Okay. And I hope you guys had a great time listening to the show. I always appreciate my conversations with Vicky. She's a fantastic guest and a great friend of mine. And with that, everyone, I want to say, keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.
Beneath the stars where shadows grow, the Nephilim's echoes whisper low. Bigfoot roams through the forest deep, and Dogman prowls where the brave won't sleep. Across lost history we wonder why, seeking the truth that time tried to hide. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the Codex flame is a light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks. In the void of secrets, a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the Codex flame is a light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. Legends rise from the Earth's deep core, a lost legacy we can't ignore. With every step, the veil grows thin, revealing worlds where the strange begins. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home.